Hello friends, SentinalH here, and welcome back to our ChromatiCraft tutorial series. In this episode we're going to get explosive as we talk about the protection core. So this adjacency core is another pretty straightforward one. It protects against explosions, right? And its protectiveness is rated based on the strength of the explosion by comparing it to a TNT. Crafting this requires the same recipe as the other adjacency cores, but it uses boosted Karma crystal shards. If you remember, Karma, the red color, is associated with protection. I mean, its emblem is a shield. So yeah, we're going to get into that and take a look at it. All the tiers are the same as the other cores. All the recipes are the same, so we're not going to go over that again. But the standard basic protection core starts at 0.25 TNT, and then it goes up to 0.125. Wait, I got that backwards. So it starts at lowest tier starts at 0.125 TNT, then it goes up to 0.25, then 0.5, and when you get to level 4, you finally get one that is 1x TNT. Okay, so at rank 4, this core can protect you against an explosion that is the same strength as TNT, or basically a TNT itself. When you go up higher, you get to 1.5, and then 3, and then 12. It takes a big jump between 3 and 12. And finally, the biggest jump possible, infinity. So ostensibly, the highest tier core will protect against literally any strength of explosion. Now, let's take a look at how this works. Now, remember, I have the setting turned on to make these require power, but by default, these do not require power until you change the config setting to make them require power. So if you haven't done that, ignore all the discussion about power, and this becomes stronger because you don't have to give it anything. So I've been testing it a little bit, that's why there's a hole here. So let's take a look. I will go ahead and grab myself. First of all, we'll take a look at the low level one, which will be interesting. And we'll just grab some TNT as an explosive source and place one. Now, what I'm interested in is this says 0.25 TNT. Now, does that mean that if I place 4 of these around a block of TNT, that it'll actually protect against it? Do they add together? Actually, there's not enough power for these. So let's go into debug mode so that they will have all the power they need, because I don't have a Karma pylon plugged into this. So if we turn debug mode on, that'll just continually fill, so we'll always have the power here. So there we go. Let's just turn debug test mode off in case it causes any issues. And then we'll just sort of light off our TNT, and we'll just use a flint and steel because it's easier. Does this work? No. Alright, so you can't cheat it. And these don't stack. So in order for you to protect against an explosion with these cores, you need to use one that is rated for the explosion that is occurring. You can't add it together with other cores in order to equal the amount. So we saw that explosion went off, the TNT detonated, but if we go up to this one, which is the 1x TNT, we place it down and we put the TNT next to it and we hit the flint and steel to light it off, you'll notice something happened. Wait, why didn't that work? Oh, we probably don't have any Karma anymore. Alright, I promise that this works. I'm just being stupid. Yeah, there was no power in it. Okay, me. Quit being dumb. We'll throw this back into debug mode. Now it has power. And we'll turn that off. Place a TNT. We'll put it underneath this time. Light it off. And boom, nothing. Nothing happened because the protection core absorbed the explosion. Multiple TNTs. And they get absorbed because I'm using TNT, which has the explosive force of 1 TNT. So no matter how many are adjacent to this protection core, they will get absorbed. Now the thing about it is, these are adjacency cores. So if I place it over here to where it's not adjacent, it still goes off, right? So this is designed, it appears, and I don't have Rayka here to answer any questions. It appears this is designed to protect a block from exploding. So it's only going to stop explosions if whatever is exploding originated from an adjacent block. Actually, no. So since that TNT fell before it blew up, it doesn't get absorbed. So the block that's exploding needs to be the block that's adjacent to the protection core in order for it to absorb the explosion. So the way that you're going to use this is if you have a machine that is prone to exploding or can explode if certain circumstances are met, and you don't want that, you can place a protection core next to it, and then if it does explode, then its explosion will be absorbed, it won't detonate, and it won't destroy anything. But in order to do that, you need a core that will absorb that level of an explosion, and that can be difficult to figure out if you don't have the exact numbers, which is where this infinity one would come in, because then it doesn't matter. Let's turn debug test mode back on, and then we'll turn it back off, because that wasn't enough. We'll turn debug mode on, and that's going to refill this thing with power, and we'll turn it back off. And now we're going to do a real proper test. So I'm going to place down this infinity level adjacency core, and if I look at this, is it draining power continuously? It doesn't appear to be. Oh wait, I can't tell, honestly. Oh, I think it is. I think the power is slowly draining, but it's so slow that I can't really tell. So it may or may not be draining on a constant basis. It appears as though it is, though. So it's going to drain a small amount of power constantly if you're using power. Obviously, if you don't have that setting turned on, this doesn't matter. Now we're going to test this with something that explodes. And I'm choosing to attempt to test it using the creative industrial coil from RotaryCraft. So if you remember, game mode 0, if you get the creative coil from the infinite power coil from Industrial Craft, RotaryCraft, and you place it down when you're not in creative mode, then it explodes. All right, doesn't work. I think I put that a little close to the casting complex. Yeah, I put that a little close to the casting complex. I really did think that this was going to work, but it did not work. Alright, so that doesn't work. So either the explosion just bypasses stuff like this, or that's not the intended use case. Either way, that didn't work out the way that I planned it. Let's go ahead and grab ourselves another infinity core. We'll grab another lumen distributor, and we'll go over here into the wilderness. I'll have to rebuild that casting complex. We'll go ahead and grab ourselves an elemental manipulator just so that we can keep an eye on this stuff. Oh, it doesn't have any power. Right. So here's our protection core. It's infinity TNT. Let's try something else that blows up, if I can think of anything. Okay, so let's try something else that can explode. A Magnetostatic Engine, also from RotaryCraft. So we're going to place that directly adjacent to this protection core, which does have power. Why are you standing there, chicken? Get out of the protection core. And then we have to give it some RF. So we'll grab creative capacitor from Immersive Engineering. Yep, that worked. And then if you don't give these... Come on. If you don't give these things liquid nitrogen, then they explode. So let's see if this works. Ah. Wait, I don't need a redstone signal, do I? I just need to turn it on. Hey, it worked! So that actually worked. So apparently Reka has made it so that you cannot use this to bypass the explosive capacity of the other thing, of the core, but of the coil. But we are able to use it on this. There it goes. It just disappears. Cool. So some things it may work on, some things it may not work on. And so you'll just have to do some experimentation to figure it out. I'm not going to go through and test absolutely everything. But another thing that I'm quite interested in is, of course, one of my favorite explodey things, the gas turbine. And I just want to fire this thing up and then have something get sucked into it. Although wait, that doesn't actually cause an explosion, does it? That just damages the thing. I don't think this is going to work. What I really want to know is whether you can use it with ReactorCraft and the solenoid magnet. I'm going to say probably not, but it would be sweet if it worked. So basically the solenoid magnet is a big multi-block, but it has a central core block that I would assume holds it takes the power in, and I assume holds the actual information for how it works. And so in my head, the way it seems to suggest it would work is that you'd put the core above it, and then maybe if you blew it up, then it wouldn't blow up. But that also scatters blocks around, so it's probably an explosion that bypasses that. I don't know. Let me grab... What am I looking for? I want a bucket of jet fuel. Well, I did suck chickens into it. I don't know if that actually, which was fun, but I don't know if it actually had the desired effect. Let's break this. Put a pig in there. Get this some power. Nope. Right. So that didn't work. Let's see here. So we have a protection core. It has power. And then what we were testing was if it would protect. Now, I think what's happening is that these are not like standard explosions. I think that what occurs with these is that the explosions may be instantiated in multiple locations, and so this can't protect it. Because what seems to happen is that if the explosion is occurring at the central location, at a central block this is adjacent to, then it will stop the explosion, right? But if this is creating explosions in an area, it's not going to work. Because the protection core only absorbs explosions that it's directly adjacent to. That's why the Magnetostatic Engine did work. At least that's just my thoughts on the matter. I don't know for sure, because I haven't had a chance to ask Reiki about it. But through this experimentation, we can see a couple of interesting interactions here. It works on things like the Magnetostatic Engine. It does not work on things like the exploding jet engine. It does not work on the exploding creative creative coil. Basically, if you've got a machine or a block that can explode, and you don't want it to explode, and that explosion is just occurring once, like one explosion at the block itself, like the block itself is what's exploding, then there's a good chance this thing will work, as long as you have the right tier of it. However, if it's creating explosions all around itself, like this seems to do, because this is a really big hole, then it's not going to work, because it's only going to block one of the explosions. You'd have to like place a ton of these around if that even would work. So some things aren't going to be protected by this, but things like the Magnetostatic Engine do, and that's actually really useful, because these are blocks. The Magnetostatic Engine is a block that won't explode if you have the proper support structure set up. But if your liquid nitrogen production ever gets cut off, then it's going to blow up, and it's going to blow up some useful stuff around it. So this is one case where if you've got all this excess lumen power, or if you don't have the power requirement turned on, place one of these down next to it, and it just safeguards your base a bit more. It's just a protection. But you know, we'll have to figure out. I'll have to ask Reka exactly what this thing is going to protect and what it won't. I don't know if it's hard-coded not to protect against things like the jet engine, or if the explosive characteristics of that are just different and it's not able to protect against it. Because this only protects against explosions that occur like directly adjacent to it, it's really probably not going to be effective against trying to prevent creeper damage, unless you like completely surrounded your house with them, which is really stupid. This is designed to be placed next to a block, or it seems to be designed to be placed next to a block that has the propensity to explode in order to stop it from damaging things. It's basically like turning off it's basically like turning off block damage, like creeper griefing or whatever, but for that one block. So for things like this Magnetostatic Engine, it definitely works, and it's not that expensive. I mean, once you get up to the infinity level one, it's kind of expensive, but you don't probably need that. You just need one that's powerful enough for whatever explosion that you're encountering. But anyway, that's going to be it. The protection core is pretty straightforward. It's just going to take some experimentation to figure out what it will protect against and what it won't. Obviously, the larger and more complex an explosion is, the less likely this is going to actually help. But if you've got a single block that might explode, then this thing could probably keep that explosion from damaging the rest of your base. Anyway, that's going to be it for this. I had to record this one pretty quickly because I have to go to work later. Hopefully I didn't, mess up anything too crazy. It's a pretty simple item. Reka, I'm sure, will leave us comments about it. And thank you guys so much for watching. Like and comment the video if you did enjoy it. I'm SentinalH, and I'm signing out.